everybody. Oh, we are super excited to have a really interesting guy and a good friend who we've had the opportunity to sit down and do some work with. Zac Scott, President and CEO of Experitec.
Because you need two titles.
That's right. You're not cool unless you've got two titles.
That's
and that
right.
means that Zac is the coolest. So, Zac, welcome to our show. Welcome to Trailblazers.
Yay!
Yeah, thank you, Bruce and Gail, for having me here.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, we'll kick it right off, Zac. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Experitec, kind of what you guys do, what you do there, and how you get the job done.
Yeah, so like you said before, Zac Scott, President and CEO of Experitec. I've been with the company now for 24 years, so it's been my entire career coming out of school.
That's amazing.
We do industrial automation and reliability work, which some people might hear and think that that's not the coolest job in the world, but it's pretty amazing.
I think it's very cool.
I think we do a lot of things for our communities and the different customers that we have to really build successful communities around our territory, and we relish that and live in those communities and participate in that success. So it's a very noble field to be in.
That's very cool.
Great.
Can you give us an example of like what kind of products are out there for folks to come to you for?
Sure. So we talk to our customers about a lot of valve and instrumentation products. We talk to them about control systems, and we talk to them about all the services to get those products to do what they need them to do in their processes.
Very cool.
And what industries are you focused on, Zac?
Anything that has fluid flowing through a pipe, we typically engage with. So we work with large chemical customers, pulp and paper customers, pharmaceutical customers, refineries, petrochemicals, you name it. Anything that looks like it's got a lot of pipes in it, that's where we spend most of our time.
Interesting. So would water plants be there as well? So
absolutely.
Municipal water plants and wastewater. I asked that. My brother was in wastewater
and fresh water.
And for a long time. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Plants, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's just jump right into it. One of our questions that we ask leaders about, we do it because our business is focused on business relationships, better communication, emotional intelligence, empathy, etc. So we're really big fans of power skills, or soft skills, as some people call them. We would love to know, if you had a magic wand and you could just wave it and give everybody who works for you and or anybody in the world that might need a particular skill, what is the skill that you think is kind of that number one soft skill everyone needs to have in high quantities?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I think I would probably look for more of an ability to look and focus on the long term versus the short term. I see a lot of our industry these days and the different people that come to work for Experitec that, sometimes we have too short of a focus and need immediate returns on that. And I think back to my career and the successes that I've had in my career, that's usually been grounded in really sticking with something, getting deep and learning and growing in my ability to do something. And that always takes time.
Absolutely. So kind of that longer visioning, kind of strategic planning, et cetera. Is that about right?
That is about right. Yeah. You don't have to be that strategic, because that's difficult for some people to consider themselves strategic. But if you put a bunch of tactical things back to back, then that gets you into the long-term way of thinking as well.
Yeah. I like to think of it in a way as there's something to be said for people who can see the bigger picture. Mm-hmm. To me, the bigger picture is longer term. It's not the shorter term. It's easy to get kind of caught up in your role, what you do, rather than seeing how you fit in with everybody else and how that moves towards kind of being successful in industry, et cetera.
Sure. Yeah. Zac, I'm curious, you've been at Experitec for 24 years, which which is remarkable, right? One
Yeah.
is just to say that somebody has been in that industry at the same place for that long, I think is an anomaly. And correct me if I'm
100%.
wrong. I'm curious to know kind of how the evolution, so speaking about the short-term versus long-term, kind of how your evolution as a leader, starting as a person right at what I think you mentioned right out of college, your very first job, how did you evolve over time to then become president and CEO of Experitec?
I want to know that. I want to know that too.
So you guys will be surprised they didn't hire me to be president and CEO.
What? Nuh-uh.
No, it's true. So entry-level position. I started out entry-level position. I got a chemical engineering degree in college, and I was hired on to be a control valve inside sales engineer.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, right. It was great learning. It was really a good spot to come into the company. I got to work on a small team, which I've always worked in teams, and got to know our customer base. Some very close that were kind of repeat customers for us, and started to try to watch the people around me to understand how to treat customers, because that's how we learned customer service back then, is you kind of watch your peers. And from there, I did the same job, except on the control system side of our business, where I got to architect systems and pull bills of material together on the control system side of the business. And then from that point, I got an opportunity to get more customer facing. We call that position an account manager, outside sales engineer. But I got to go see these things I was talking to customers on the phone about, see them in action, collect information, talk to customers about what they needed from our organization, and got to bring that back into our organization to do all of the technical detailed work and help answer questions there. And then from there, I started to manage some small businesses for the organization, both on the mechanical side of the business and the system side of the business, and moved into executive management and eventually the president role after that.
Oh,
so really progression. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. You mentioned something in the evolution of that, starting at the beginning, that you learned how to treat customers, right? Because you watched by doing. What were some of the secrets that you saw and the things that you learned on how to treat customers in a way that that they like to be treated? What'd you find out?
So I don't think it's just customers, but I think everybody likes to be understood. So trying to have conversations and ask enough questions where I could truly understand what the customer needed from our organization was a big learning experience for me. And then beyond that, I think the world that we live in today, especially in the industrial space, there's not a lot of time to wait on things. So being responsive to customer needs and having a sense of urgency was a big part of kind of understanding what true customer service was.
Yeah, I guess if fluid is flowing somewhere that it shouldn't, you gotta
or not.
Or not. It's time to respond.
Life, it's a bad thing in your professional life too.
100%.
100%. I appreciate that comment.
I know. And you mentioned earlier this idea of, maybe people don't think of it as really interesting or, sexy, whatever. That is until they have something that's not working.
Yeah.
And they rely on that thing to be working well and or to regulate it and or to provide, data on it. So it's always amazing to me that when things are going well in business, when it comes to, industrial equitment, no one really cares so much about it. And so it does matter. And it is cool because having peace consistent and working is important.
Yeah. Reliability is a big deal. I mean, part of our mission as an organization is to help our customers with their environmental goals and their safety goals. So those are transcendent goals out there, right? That's not just helping them make a few more bucks. That's helping people get home to their families at night.
Yes.
So that's really matters a lot to us.
And I love hearing that too, because we've been fortunate enough to work in energy, specifically, almost couldn't get that out, in oil and gas. And so we definitely gravitate toward those businesses who are aware of their people, right?
Yeah.
And
their communities.
And their communities.
Yeah.
And safety is a big deal. It's a very big deal. And so knowing that that's part of your mission is awesome at Experitec. I love that. And I really love how you talked about your journey through each of the roles, because that makes you uniquely qualified to be in the role that you're in now, to lead, because you have such great visibility into the business, and all the different facets of it. So you're kind of unique in that way. I think we have a gentleman we were talking to the other day who is the CEO of Dion's Pizza. And it's like 28 different stores out of New Mexico. They're in Colorado and Texas now too.
2,000 employees.
And,
it's big.
And wow. Privately held, not franchised. And same thing. He started off in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to make a few bucks, and then left, and then came back, and then worked his way all the way up into CEO. And he's, it sounds very similar to kind of your experience, where he's just a flavor for all pieces of the business. So well done you on that, which is really cool. And when you think about kind of being a leader, moving into the role where you were managing not just kind of process and strategy, you were now managing people. What piece of advice did you receive in your career that has really stuck with you and just resonates for you in terms of kind of how you function as a leader or just a person?
Yes. So can I answer that with two answers?
Of course.
Absolutely. There's no rules here.
We would enjoy that. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I think my parents have been a big influence in my life, and I learned from a very young age the golden rule: treat others as you would want to be treated. So I think I try to keep that in mind throughout everything that I do today. So that's a big one. And the other really piece of advice that has stuck with me for a long time is I had a professor in university going through a very technical curriculum to get a chemical engineering degree, and he just kind of stopped us one day in class and told us that all of the theory that we were working on was not the hard part of being a professional. The hard part was how to understand and work with people. So that's set with me, and that's continued, and that's been a very that's extremely accurate.
Oh my gosh, it's so true, right? Man. There's certain things that are finite and certain things that are not, and people are not.
Yeah, human behavior is the most difficult thing to predict and react and to address, and be a part of, and it is the one thing. If you could make everything a robot, it might be a lot easier. It sure would be a lot less. It certainly would be a lot less exciting, though, right?
Yeah,
it's the hardest thing, but it's also the most rewarding thing. If you,
I agree. Yeah. I agree. Do you have a story about an experience that you had as a leader where maybe that kind of came to fruition? This idea of just managing a team really well, just a feel good story about something that happened.
Sure. I've got a lot of those stories in my career, but I would probably focus on one where we're having a really difficult time getting to a singular solution for one of our customers. And I was the account manager, so the outside sales engineer at the time for the account. It's that person's job to try to pull all the parts of the team together to get to that best solution for the customer. And I think there's a lot of power in the ability to just kind of stop in the moment, even when there's a lot of pressures on, and kind of pull back and get the rest of the team to pull back and think about, not to harp on it too much, but the long term with that customer and what we were really trying to accomplish. And with that customer, we were trying to accomplish a long-term relationship where we could be, a part of their decision-making process and a part of how they manage their facility for not just the next month or two for how long the project was going to run, but for the next several years as we help them try to get the most out of the equipment that we were putting on site for that customer. So having that opportunity to pull the team back and to talk about that long-term vision, I think really allowed us to come together as a strong unit and work in an efficient way, even under some pressure to reach our deadlines, work in a very efficient way to provide the customer a truly world-class solution. And then it paid off, right? So we did what we needed to do, taking care of the customer, getting them everything that they needed when they needed it. And we got to be a part of that customer's operations for the next several years and hopefully brought even more benefit to the customer.
Mm-hmm. I love that so much. What it makes me think of is kind of back to your comment about people want to be understood and your customers want to be understood. And sometimes teams can get so excited about solutioning too soon that then they launch right into that one thing. And I like to think of it in a way as you can put a Band-Aid on something, or you can find out what's going on at a deeper level. Yes. Right. It's like, are you just going to take acetaminophen or, Advil or whatever for your pain? Or are you going to find out, like, what are you doing wrong physically that's causing this pain? And then how can we be a part of strategically fixing that for you? And then where do you also want to be after that? Mm-hmm. And so that's, to me, that is the sign of great leadership and just sauce. It's a secret sauce for sure. For sure. You want to?
I'm curious. I mean, it's interesting, Zach, and I don't mean to keep coming back to it. It's just amazing to me, though, that you've been there for 24 years.
It's so unusual.
So what's kept you there? What's kept you at Experitec for 24 years? How did they do it? How did they make it so that you would stick around?
You can only tell us about people things.
Yeah. Right. Knowing that I was going to get to talk to you guys one day. No, that's not really.
Hey!
All right.
You didn't even know
this conversation's done. We're done with the conversation.
The people keep you at Experitec. So we spend a lot of time, put a lot of effort into trying to hire the right individuals for the company. And we are 100% employee owned. So that brings a certain ownership culture to Experitec. And if I look back on it, the extremely smart people and talented people that I've had the chance to work with in my career is what gets me excited about coming to work every day.
I love that. And I love your humility when it comes to that too. It's pretty awesome. You have your choice.
Yeah.
What is inspiring you right now, outside or inside of work? What is making you happy? Or what is something that you're really looking forward to? And it can be, again, personal life or professional life.
Okay. So, we're on a customer service journey within Experitec right now. We've grown a lot in the past several years, which is great for the business. It's great for our organization to grow, but we have a lot of new faces. And I think for the first time in my career, even though it's been a topic of conversation since I started 24 years ago, we are truly seeing a significant turnover in experience. So a lot of the baby boomer generation is moving towards retirement. And I think when you look around at your organization and you see hundreds of years experience moving to the next phase of life, that you've really got to stand up and take notice of that. So we're working on a more methodical, systemic way to focus in on customer service within Experitec. I think I said earlier, I learned customer service by watching those around me and how they took care of our customers. And I think that's a great augmenter today, but I'm just not sure that you can do it in the same way because of all the tools that we have and how we engage with our customers and email and in different virtual and video settings. When I was here, everybody was on the phone and you just kind of listened to how the conversation was going.
Yeah.
It's not as easy to do today. So working on that systemic approach where we really key in on core principles about what our customers need from us and then how we should respond when our customers do have those needs is what we're focused on today. So we're having a customer roundtable in just a few weeks in our office where we've invited several key customers to attend. And we're going to talk to them about what we're working on, what we think will serve them better, and get a lot of their feedback, and then get better from that feedback.
That's great.
I love that so much. I think it's so incredible when you involve your customers in the development of your organization and the way that you can serve them. Because a lot of organizations don't do that. They very much think of it as kind of that one-way street. You need something, I provide it, here we are, as opposed to let's collaborate on how we can serve you in the best way possible.
It's also, and I don't know if you found this, it also amazes me how similar customer needs can be. So we all think that we're all very different and we all do things in very different ways. And some of that is true. And yet when you put them all in the room together, you find that there's a lot of similar challenge and a lot of similar beliefs about how to do something. And needs. Would you agree with that?
I think so. I think there's a lot of commonality, and I think there are true pillars that stand the test of time in how we serve our customers. I mean, trying to understand our customers so that they feel understood and we can get them what they need, trying to respond quickly with that sense of urgency. I mean, those are core tenets of who Experitec wants to be as an organization. So that's there's commonalities, but then there's also things that aren't new. We just need to make sure that we have awareness and we're practicing those things.
Yeah, those things that are kind of non-starters, right? The things that we should be doing every day, every time, right? And those little things add up to big things very quickly. And a shout out to the Congruity Group, who I believe you're working with on. They're business partners of ours. We're thrilled to be joined with them at the hip in many ways. So
at the hip.
At the hip, yeah, we're joined at the hip.
Yeah,
I think it's awesome.
They've been great to work with.
Yeah,
I think it's great that you're doing it, and I think there's no better perspective you can get than through the eyes of your own clients and customers, and because your perception's one thing, their perception is the reality that they're experiencing, and so if you can get very familiar with what that is, then that can really help inform you and your best practices in business. So I love that so much. So
yes. Well, Zac Scott, President and CEO of Experitec. We're thrilled to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
You're amazing. And we're really impressed by your 24 years. And I'm assuming it'll be another 24.
Another 24. It's coming down the pipeline.
We'll see.
Yes. Well, thank you, Zac.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.